It's not a matter of speculation between incumbents whether or not the portents that insecure-minded befuddlements created among the reciprocal transgressions that overwhelmingly consumed the minds of our forefathers. Sometimes an equilibrium that's formed from the disparate malcontents can accumulate around a well-understood scenario that, nevertheless, individual members of the compunctory delinquencies, eliminated from any binders, eliminated from portfolios, eliminated from the kinds of reports that gentlemen make to illicit and sort of ill-reputed waitresses, stewardesses, people with other sort of feminine suffixes that are these days discouraged. I can't, from a position of sort of inwardly focused determinalism, recommend that a person who's at the brink of the chauvinism of despair, that person isn't going to, at the offering of some sort of legitimate or illegitimate legality, they're not going to take a route or an eddy or a substream or a deportment that sort of cascades down the rivulets and byways that nobody with kind of good credit will allow. I approach a man and I say, "Oh, you have a bumblebee." And I approach another man and I say, "Please, please forget the department where you left your shoe." I approach these people and one of them will say, "Oh, legitimate friend, I will take you to my bosom." And another one will say, "Out, out, out. You cannot put your shoe upon this balustrade. Damn thee." It's not a situation where taking upon my personhood the agency of these kinds of ragamuffins, these kinds of, you could call them marionettes. You could say that there are hands and there are strings, but the hands are gloved and clawed and sometimes corpulent, sometimes they have scrofula of one kind or another. The hands cannot be seen because where the strings attach, the terminus is so far away as to, approach a point of infinity. And so are you going to say that the puppet master is a swarm? Are you going to say that the puppet master is a friend? The puppet master may be a friend, and wouldn't that be convenient for you and your armchairs if any of these people said to themselves, "No, no, I won't have figs. No, I won't have dates. I think that I would prefer, rather than some form of round disillusionment that hangs from my bosom, I think I would prefer a tart." A tart? Again, the suffixes of sort of a derisive aspect of femininity. Suffixes linguistically denote an afterthought, denote something that embellishes or intertwines its meaning with a previously established meaning that is demonstrably sort of superior or more important. There's a defining of a characteristic or a statement, which then sort of various little chirps, little whinnies, sort of a forceful deportment that comes along with a battering ram, and it smashes the sunglasses of the warm and the friendly and the sinister. So if I say that warm, friendly, sinister apparitions have been approaching if I say that sooner or later somebody else is going to have to man the compendium of friendlessness and despair. Um, if these are the claims that I make, and then next to me there's somebody in a Batman suit who's saying, well, I think that, and none of that is necessary. I think that I can very well fill up all these little compartments with various kinds of jellies and jams, and that when the time comes to approach a salesman and say, will you please represent me in the byways of the, calumnious, disintegrated undergarments, that person is going to be chosen because people like red, people like orange, but people like redder and people like oranger. When you present to them a balcony that's full of various kinds of disarrangements, and they say, oh, that one has more vibrant disarrangement, and they say, oh, this one has, a sort of muted, subtle disarrangement. Subtle disarrangements get hell. Some subtle disarrangements get like the ass of success. And we can't tolerate those kinds of donkeys, those kinds of indiscriminate but sure-footed guides through, you can call them mountains, I suppose. You could call them mountains of aspirational declension, mountains of, well, I think there's a mountain that's lint, really, and it's the lint of disrepair, it's the lint of ignorance, it's the lint of a kind of ennui that only overcomes people with station wagons, and also people with armchairs and people with the kinds of family members who were suspected of leprosy centuries and centuries ago. And you look at the charts and you say, well, that was a leprotic grandfather and that was a leprotic, great progenitor. The leprotic are, in some senses, cherished because they're a record of survival. They're a record of overcoming a kind of social disapproval and disgust, and yet coming to a terminus that is the self. Who wouldn't approve? Who wouldn't take that as permission to chortle? I would.